Hi, my name is Luis, owner of Bay Area Window Tint, and in this video I will be showing you how to remove and retint the rear windshield of a car. Today we are going to be using this 2018 Mini Cooper Countryman, and we are going to be using the Suntech Film Ceramic Series in 5%. And as for the tools and anything, we'll have another video explaining what we used either today or in future videos, and I'll also let you know where you can get them. Alright, so the car's here today because of some scratches that happened from moving. Having objects in the back next to the window isn't a good idea because it could scratch it, and normally stuff like that would not be covered under warranty just because it has nothing to do with the warranty. So you want to be careful with that. If you're moving, any stuff in the back is better to protect the glass to keep it from getting scratched. If not, you are going to have to pay to remove and retint it. First. So I'm going to start off by covering in case customers have any important valuables or anything. I want to make sure it's nice and covered. I don't want to damage anything. Alright, so today I'm going to be using this. I've been using it for 10. I've had it for about 6 years and it's worked perfectly fine. So go ahead and turn it on. There's a bunch of other steamers that you can get, but this is a good option for everybody because you can use it for your clothes, and it's also only like $50, $60. I got mine at Sears. I know a lot of other places have different types of steamers, and it's worked perfectly fine for me. So what you want to do is with the steamer is heat it up as much as possible to make sure it softens up all the glue. So when you remove it, it doesn't leave much glue behind. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If it leaves glue, then we'll get to that after. Normally the trickiest part is getting it started. So what I want to do is heat this point the most so we can start removing it from there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab one of my tools and start trying to peel the tint. So you gotta be very careful because the steam does burn, and very quickly. So once you got it started, hold on. So I usually like to peel it enough to where I can actually grab it with my fingers. And then from there start tugging back. So you want to make sure the window's nice and hot all the way through as you're removing. You don't want to go too fast because then it's most likely to leave more glue. But then also be careful with the steamer again to not burn yourself because it does get hot. Let's see, so it is leaving a bit of glue. Sometimes what helps is steaming it on the other side. You can either steam it on the other side or just spray some water on it. So as you're removing, just kind of spray a bit of water just to keep it nice and moisty. I'm sorry, that's that. So during the removal process, every film acts differently. Some come off in layers, some come off in pieces. Some might not even want to come off. Some don't leave no glue, some leave a lot of glue. So every film is different. Hopefully anybody removing tint gets an easy one, but it's not always the case. That's why I say you want to heat it as much as you can. Usually that helps out with all that stuff. All right, so we're gonna wipe it down just so we can see how much glue is left. Not too much, there's a good amount, but nothing crazy. So when you're cleaning off this glue, you don't wanna use a razor blade just because you can mess up this defroster line right here. And once you razor it off, they can't be fixed. You'd have to replace the whole window. There's different ways of doing it. You can spray it and then just start to rub until it comes off completely, but it tends to be a lot more work. So, all right, so normally I like to use a goof off. There's Goo Gone, there's Goof Off. Goof Off has some graffiti version. You wanna make sure it's the pro strength remover. But what I normally like to do is just spray it here on the rag. You gotta be careful, the smell is very strong, so doing this outdoors is normally better, but we're inside. So just spray it on the rag, and then just rub it back and forth, and the glue should come off fairly easy. So like this, we're not risking any sort of damage on the defrosters themselves. And you can spray the goof off directly onto the glass, but you run a risk of it damaging the plastics around it. So that's why I normally like to just spray it on the rag to get it on the glass and not everywhere else. You want to spray the window, make sure you got even water everywhere. Just want to make sure you scrub everything nice and even, because if you have any glue residue or anything left in there, you will see it once the tint is done. All right, that looks pretty good from the inside. The window's a bit dirty on the outside, but we'll go ahead and move on to that right now. All right, so first we're gonna start off by getting the windshield wiper out of the way. You can do it with it on, but I usually just find it easier to take it off. So we're gonna pop off this little cap right here. Put that aside. And I like having a little toolkit like this just because when you need to remove stuff like that, you have the sizes you need. You don't really need a crazy set, but if you got a little one, it works. Loosen this up. And pop this off. So sometimes it gets stuck. What you want to do is kind of put pressure down here. Don't pull the actual windshield wiper because you can break it. So just put pressure. Once it loosens up, straighten it out, and then it comes right up. So now we want to do rear window. Go ahead and get the scrubby. You want to clean off any like hard debris because then that'll mess up the tint while you're heating it. So you want to make sure you scrub everything out of the way. Or if you wash your car before, that also works. Alright, so now that we got all that dirt out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and prep it. So we're gonna do just a light mist. I like using these fabric softener sheets. I get the pack from Costco. Want to get it a little bit wet, get that soap out. And then you want to get a nice even coat across the whole window. Don't use too much water or else you won't get it very well. So once it's nice and white all the way across, just leave it alone, let it dry. While we wait for that, we'll go cut out the tint. But we already have the tint pre-cut. We're just gonna go ahead and lay it out and trim off the excess. Alright, so I'm gonna be using my zippy tool. And just a reminder, I will be making a video on all the tools that I use and where I bought them. So if you guys wanna look at that one and get yours as well. Alright, so now that it's dry, we're gonna come back and dust off any excess stuff on there. You wanna make sure you don't wipe it off, just kind of dust it a little bit before you put on the actual tint. You want to be very careful while handling your tint because if you fold it, it can crease it and we don't want creases. Line it up the best you can before you heat to get the best shape on the window. You want to tack it down in the center. I'll grab my heat gun. So you want to make sure not to heat the side so much, because if you do heat it, you can get side bubbles that are going to be kind of tricky to get rid of. So you want to kind of just warm it up as you're bringing down the side, and then start heating up the rest. You want to make sure you see it shape. Heat it enough for it to shape, but not too much to where it'll burn. So you can work little by little. You can see it kind of start to flatten out already. That's when you press it out. And then after you heat it once, kind of just want to lift it up right where the edge is. And then hit that again one more time. Just to get rid of any little excess bubbles on there. You want to be careful with the edges because they are extra sensitive to the heat. So this pipe kind of curls up a little bit, but our work area is going to be up here. So this bottom part is not going to be an issue. down and keeps that shape. So when you put it on the inside, you don't have to worry about any extra bubbles. Okay, so once the heating is done, you're gonna wanna take off the window. Set it aside. Go ahead and remove the negative tint. So that's what we're gonna be working with. Clean off the prep that we used. Alright, so once that's done, you can go ahead and go back inside to start the installation process. Go ahead and cover everything back up since we're going to be spraying water. So we had already cleaned it from before, but I'm gonna go at it one more time, just in case, because there's always stuff that likes to hide. So quick little pass. Looks good. I'm gonna make sure we spray it again before we apply. Nice even coat. Then we come back to the tint. We remove the clear. Again, you want to get a nice even coat of water. You want to be careful with your fingers not to get too much on there, because then they will show at the end. Just line it up. Want to double check, make sure there's no, it's not short anywhere or there's light anywhere. I think that looks good right there. So we'll go ahead and spray it. Check it down. Again, double check it didn't move. There's no light anywhere. So we're good. I like starting from the center again and then working my way out. And then start from the center and work out. So, I mean, it looks pretty good, but either way, I like to go at it with the heat gun one more time just to get any little things around the edges. And I do like to use a hard part with the towel just so it catches the water as you're squeegeeing it out. Make sure those bubbles stay out. If you are heating on the inside, you want to be very careful because you can burn the plastic if you heat it too much. I'm just doing a quick pass, so it should be okay. Okay, looks good. So I'm gonna head and wipe everything down because you still have some of that prep on the inside. Spray it with the window cleaner. Yeah, I don't see any bubbles anywhere. Alright, so before we send the customers home, we are going to want to put their windshield wiper back on. Make sure you don't over tighten it, you can break some things, so just make sure it's on tight. So we'll go ahead and clean the window now that it's finished. When you're cleaning the windows, you can go ahead and use any kind of window cleaner, just as long as it's ammonia free or tint safe. You can just double check on the bottle before you use it. Anything with ammonia can damage the tint over time, but just double check on that. Alright, so that was it for today. If you guys have any questions or comments, just go ahead and let me know below, or message us on Instagram at Barrier Window Tint, and hopefully I can answer anybody's questions.